We're doing it, baby. We're back. Season 2, if you want to call it that, episode 31, Más que un podcast. I'm here with Buga and Pablo. We're going to be getting into some Joan Gamper discussion. We got Valencia here at the end of the week. We're going to be getting into all things preseason for Barcelona. We'll talk about who is going to be replacing Roberto as the captain, some of these youngsters coming up, what's our expectations there, and then Dani Olmo joining Barcelona. I'm pretty pumped for that one. We're going to be comparing him to the young Fermin, coming off a hot Olympic performance, all that in today's episode. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We love and appreciate that support. We want to hear from you. Get those comments going. Let us know your thoughts, your questions, your opinions. We love to hear from you folks. With that all out of the way, I know you're dying to hear from the other boys. Boo, let's start with you. How you feeling, my guy?
I'm good. New season. This is the time to be alive. It's the time football fans start to, get rattled up and have illusions.
I was going to say, start their unrealistic dreams.
Exactly. We are going to win the Champions League. We're going to bring the treble back home. Daniel is going to be MVP. Nico Williams is going to sign in the winter transfer. No. It's just been, last season for me was very horrible. I said it plenty of times. It sucked. Like, it drained me emotionally. It just wasn't fun to watch Barcelona anymore. But this season, I don't know. I think it's just the kid, to be honest, that I'm a bit excited for this next upcoming season. So let's see how we go. I like Hansi Flick, what we're seeing so far in preseason, but let's see how we go, right? Let's stay calm. Let's keep it riled in. Pablo.
No, none of that. Not going to happen. We're getting crazy. Pablo, speaking of nice kits, looking sharp. How are we feeling, buddy?
I'm really happy to be back with my boys. I'm buzzing to be back for more episodes, more Barca talk. I've missed it, to be fair. So I'm just excited to be back. And yeah, to be fair, like Bulgar said, we have had a positive pre-season. It's a sort of a new Barca, a little bit of a new turning of a chapter. I sort of feel about this sort of period for Barca right now in quite a few ways that we'll get into today, obviously. So let's begin.
Yes, indeed. New beginnings for sure. I was probably the most hesitant out of the three of us for the Hansi Flick era, but I'll say I am equally excited now. I think there's a clear difference in Hansi Flick's tactics, the formation that he plays, particularly with the midfielders, where they're positioned. All of a sudden, Barcelona's playing with attacking midfielders. What is this like? So I'm pretty pumped for it. And we do have, like we mentioned, we got we got the Joan Gamper trophy coming up. It's Sunday when we're recording. So tomorrow's the Joan Gamper trophy. And then we got Valencia to start the La Liga season. Let's talk about Joan Gamper first. What are our expectations? Who are you excited to see? Is this going to be more of a friendly, more of a competitive match? What should we expect out of this Joan Gamper match coming up here?
To be honest, what I look most forward to this game is always sort of not actually the football, but what I hear before. The presentation of the players, how we're looking, what the coach is going to say, what the captain is going to say. It's going to be different now. We got Hansi Flick, which is not a Barcelona sort of, person from the institution. He's not an ex-player. He's not someone who has gone up through the ranks. He's an external being here in this system, in this club. We're going to see him talk for the very first time. And we're going to have Ter Stegen talk as well, who is going to be now the first team captain. And once again, is not a Barcelona sort of graduate from La Masia. He's not someone he has been in the club for a very long time. But, he's not from Catalonia. So it's still going to be a little bit different to see how we're going to talk about and approach this season. I think it's going to be interesting. I think I want to hear what they have to say, how they can get me motivated for this season. And particularly, I'm going to be interested to see if how are we going to line up for this season. I think that particularly at the start of the season where we have that many injuries, and that's something we're going to talk later. I don't know. I think that right now we're going to be putting all our eggs in one basket, and that's probably going to be Marc Gasol. I really like what I'm seeing from him so far.
Real quick. Do you think we're going to see Barcelona's starting 11 at the beginning of the Joan Gamper Trophy that we'll see versus Valencia, or are we going to see maybe a watered down version, maybe a mix and match and then go with a full starting 11 versus Valencia?
Look, I'm always gonna be of the idea that you have to play your starting 11 before. Like, that's something for me that you always have to do. I don't like when a team just comes out of nowhere with a new formation that they have never played before. I don't think that never works. So I would encourage Hansi Flick to play the best 11 that he can, put for the Valencia game, and then rotate. That's something I've always liked. Like, for me, Pep Guardiola, those first 2009, 2010, 2011 season, he always had one thing on mind, and I think Luis Enrique replicated that as well. And it's whenever you want to rotate, play your best 11 first, be winning 4-0 up, and then rotate. That's when you can. That it's easier for a player to come off the bench when a system is clicking rather than the other way around.
Yeah, Paulo, what about you? We going with the strong starting 11 to start out the Joan Gamper Trophy?
Yeah, I do agree. It's been a weird summer, though, because of the Olympics and the Euros and the Copa America, which means it won't be the full 11. I don't think, just by, because of circumstance, it just by fact won't be the best Barca 11. I don't even think against Valencia we'll see Barca's strongest 11 for the season. In fact, probably not close to it. Probably about 4 or 5 players off it. In the Gamper, we might see 6, 7 players off it. I think it'll be, the guys who obviously been there in pre-season. Inigo Martinez will start as centre-back, I'd imagine. Into midfield, Casado or Bernal or both will, I'm guessing, start. You maybe will see a Dani Olmo thrown in there, sort of like a bang, here he is, the new signing. But then up front, you're looking at Rafinha, Lewandowski, Paul Victor, that sort of thing, I'd imagine, because it's going to be the guys who've been there playing pre-season. But I agree with Bulga. I'm excited to see, Hansi Flick's Barca again. It's obviously the first time at home at Montjuic. The Germans will be speaking, obviously. Captain's German, coach is German, so we've sort of got a German Barca to start for now, which will be interesting. Yeah, different to Catalan, of course, and so we'll see how that goes. But I'm excited too. I think the 4-2-3-1 is exciting. It will suit some of our players, not all of them, but certainly the new signing Dani Olmo will suit. And high intensity football, press from the front, just a little bit more dynamic, I think, is what we want this season. I think last season was very dull in many points, and we need to be more dynamic this season. And I think this is the last time before the league starts, and the league starts with a bang, by the way, away at Mestalla. So we've got to be on it tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a really good occasion. I'm really excited for the game. I'm going to be at the stadium, by the way, watching it, so that'll be fun. So let's see how we do. Let's see how the fans are feeling. So I'm excited for it. But I think it's the last chance for Flick and Barca to say, this is what we've got for this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was, we shouldn't completely skip over. It was a very exciting summer with Euros and Copa and some other soccer going on. So football. Forgot that where I am for a second. Some good football going on. And so that kind of cleaned the palate a little bit. It was a bit of a refresher, like you said, off of a anticlimactic Barcelona season. But I'm hesitant. I'm going to be withholding judgment because I don't think we're going to see a full Barcelona 11 until maybe Athletic Club, August 24th, maybe Rayo, August 27th, something like that. I mean, notable names that had a lot of football going on this summer: Cubarsí, Lamine, Fermin. Those 3 names alone, plus Barcelona's injury list, which we'll get to here in a few minutes. So there's a lot of excitement, but I'm going to try to be patient. I'm going to try to be very patient as we introduce Hansi Flick football, as we get our full squad in order. And there still could be some changes. Transfer window is still open. So there could be some
Are you reading Twitter right now while we're recording?
No, Buga, I'm focused on the podcast. What are you doing?
Because it changes every day. But today they're saying, oh my God, Nico Williams has said yes to Barcelona. That's what Twitter is all around right now. Breaking news, apparently. So go check it.
You do that. Logging on right now. Go ahead, Pablo.
Are you joking or not?
No, I'm not joking. Like, open it up.
Barca Boy, shout out to our friend of the pod, Barca Boy, just said, going to be refreshing Twitter for the rest of the day. FFS, Nico Williams got me in a chokehold. Rashad Rahman says, calma.
Okay, while Barca you do that and you freak out, wow. I wanted to ask John.
Sorry,
I am rock hard right now, baby. Let's go.
Everything of the episode, by the way.
Yeah,
Dude,
I don't
if
know.
we-
I don't know if we can just move on. I mean, do you think? Okay, because here's the thing. We're getting that 10 million euros for the Julian Araujo deal to Bournemouth. Is that the tipping point? We get that money, and then we go, Nico. Hey, bro, we got your money, dog. Come on over.
I don't know. I think it's still in the making. Like what I trust Laporta in saying that he wanted to. Apparently, reports saying last week that he like threw Deco off the negotiations. He was like, "I'm gonna take this in charge. This is in my hands now." And I don't know. I just think that there's sometimes when a football comes when football is just very simple, and I think that Barcelona is like literally Nico Williams is the player you need. It cannot be said any stronger than that. It's literally made in heaven. Sort of what Mbappe was sort of written for Madrid. I think Nico Williams is written for Barcelona. So. Dude, if we can get him, I'm going to be very happy. I think that's exactly what we need. And I'm going to be very, very excited for it.
Look, here's the deal. I'm gonna get some hate for this, but start of the season, let's make some waves. Nico Williams signing for Barcelona is a bigger move than Mbappe joining Real Madrid. It's a bigger move. I'm not saying that Nico Williams is better than Mbappe. Okay, that's not my argument. But for what each player does to the club and how much impact they have, listen, Real Madrid, amazing club, top club. How much better are they with Mbappe?
No, that's factos. That's factos.
You know what I mean?
That's facts.
Nico Williams joining Barcelona. Let's go, dude. That is impact. That takes us up to Champions League contender. And I'm not even blowing smoke now. That's what I honestly believe if Nico Williams signs on the line for Barca.
Yeah, Pablo's just looking very worried. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to work so hard now.
I'm actually in big trouble. I've got a 12-hour day tomorrow. I'm in big trouble next week.
Oh, shout out to Pablo.
There's
Putting in the extra hours.
Always. And then Valencia has a 6-day week as well. Fantastic news. It was Ivan San Antonio from Sport who said this. Like, this is not like he's coming. Yeah, let's wait. I reckon there could still be a few twists, but obviously this does change it because I think I was a little bit. I don't know what you guys were. I was a little bit resigned with the whole Nico Williams saga. I thought since he'd returned to training at Athletic, all the reports were sort of like, I was thinking, I know how this ends. It's give it a week or two, and it's going to be like, look, this season, guys, I want to play Europe with Athletic. Just calm, please. Let me have it. That still could happen, but this has really surprised me. So, I don't know if we want to just like crack on, but obviously, so that the viewers know, because by the time this podcast comes out, this could have exploded even more. Just seen that Sports have said that Hansi Flick has given his yes to Sergio Reguilon as well. So I'm not even going to throw any more fire into that. I don't know what's...
That one surprises me. That one really surprises me. The Reguilon. I would have said 2-3 years ago, grab him up, right? But now we've got... Balde has returned. We got Hector Fort, who can play... I know he's a right back, but he can very competently play on the left-hand side. And then his name is skipping me. Who's the other youngster that we just had come up playing on the left-hand side?
Alex Valle, Sergio Dominguez.
Yeah, so it's a little bit surprising, but
I think it'll be a shocking signing. Let's just hope it's just one of those reports that comes and goes. I just don't understand it anywhere. Completely, but hey.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So, okay, all right, everybody, take a deep breath. Okay, I'm with Pablo on this one. I think we need to focus on the agenda that we have. Let's not get too speculative. But there is some baseline excitement, I'll say, around this Nico Williams news. So more on that in next week's episode. Make sure everybody tunes in, all right? And then maybe throughout the week, leave your comments. We want to hear from you if this goes down, of course. So subscribe, leave your comments, all that good stuff. Let's turn back to a little preseason action. Sergio Roberto leaving Barcelona behind, leaving a captain's armband behind. So we got Ter Stegen, we got Frankie, we got Araujo. Who do you guys think is going to be that fourth captain come the start of the season? I think there's a few names on that short list. Pablo, you want to kick things off?
I think it's going to be, first of all, say Roberto leaving, I feel it's a bit of a turning of the chapter as well. It sort of felt like he's going to be leaving for the last 4 seasons or so now, and he's just kept going. But with Hansi Flick, it's sort of like the new era in terms of what Barca are, I believe, in a little bit. So So I think that's where it's come naturally for Roberto a little bit. I wonder if he'll be happy with the way he's left. I think we might have a farewell press conference soon from him, so let's see. I think it'll be Robert Lewandowski. He'll be the fourth captain. I don't know whether I agree with that or not, but I think it will be. I think it will be Lewandowski actually who gets it. I think as a fourth, it's not that big of a statement. Having said that, with Araujo and De Jong injured, it could be. We've got a weird captain lineup at the moment, and if Lewandowski gets added to it, it might be even weirder. But I think he'd get a nod over Gundogan purely because he's been here for more time. And I don't think a Pedri or a Gavi at that age will get the armband.
That's what I was gonna say. Is Gavi too young to get the armband? Because he's one that he's on the bubble, right? If he was 4 years older, I think that's a gimme. I think you give it to Gavi, but I'm not sure. Buga, what are your thoughts?
I think there are 4 candidates. I think actually, you may like it or not, but I think Pedri's even higher up on that list than Gavi right now.
Really?
Yeah, I think the candidates are sort of Pedri, Lewandowski. I would maybe say someone like a Rafinha, someone like that. But for me, the one that actually I would love to have, and it goes with certain reports that they are giving him a contract extension. I would love to have Jules Koundé as that fourth man, as a fourth center back. I think that could be sort of like he could be like a Eric Abidal sort of this new era, you know, sort of just a player who's not from Barcelona, but someone who can sort of incorporate himself very nicely to the team dynamics, someone who knows and understands the club, and someone who just shows by example. And I'm just really fascinated by Jules Koundé at the moment. I think he's done an amazing Euros. I think we did say he was our MVP of last season for Barcelona. So I think that would be the perfect reward, you know, just a contract extension to maybe 2029, and then bang, captain's armband. I think that would be sort of what I would go for.
Wow, I was not expecting that, to be honest. A Jules Koundé shout. Would it be a bad move if it was Gundogan?
That would be more, I think, Hansi Flick having more of a control over the team. That would show for me Hansi Flick having more influence over that sort of decision. Normally for Barcelona, historically, it's been, you know, the one with the longest time in the club, someone who has come from La Masia. I think it's changing a bit, like we were talking about right now in the Joan Gamper trophy. It's not going to be any person from Barcelona's, you know, structure doing the presentations and whatnot. So I think it's gonna it could be. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Gundogan or Lewandowski. I wouldn't be surprised, but I definitely wouldn't like to see it because they're just players who are not gonna be here for the next 2 seasons, maybe after that. So I would sort of be looking for someone who represents Barcelona a little bit more, someone who can stay throughout a longer period of time. I think we made right decisions with Araujo and Frankie de Jong in that sense. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I think Occam's razor says Lewandowski. And I think, Buga, to your point of the youngsters maybe not being ready, I think you go with somebody a little bit older who's not going to be here in 2 years, and then you just hand that armband over to a Pedri, a Gavi, a Lamine, a Kubarsi. You know, the list goes on. So I think it's, I'm okay with that. Maybe going with an older captain for this one. And then Ter Stegen, of course, doesn't have, you know, a decade left in his career. So
the thing is that remember that the rules have changed as well for football, right? So you can no longer, is that correct? Is that something they're going to be implemented for the Euros and the Copa America? You know what rule I'm talking about? Yeah. That no one can, like, if you want to dispute a referee decision, only the captain can do it. So gotcha. I'm thinking that also, like, look,
sorry.
Go ahead.
Because Ter Stegen's our captain, am I right in saying we get to choose a
Yeah, Ter Stegen picks then someone an on-field player to make that decision.
Yeah, we have an out. When Ter Stegen's not running to the penalty area to dispute us not getting a penalty, you know?
Right.
As much as I would like to see that.
Yeah. And so for that reason, I think we're going to see an outfield player wearing the armband.
I think
so
Lewandowski.
That's why I think Gavi and Pedri right now are not ready for that.
Yeah.
I think I would say Araujo makes sense. Frankie de Jong makes sense. We've seen Frankie take more of a nasty sort of personality these last few seasons. I really like that. And I think that's why we need somebody else. And maybe that's why a Lewandowski or Gundogan makes more sense in that idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, get your comments down below, folks. We'd love to hear who you think is going to be Barcelona's next captain here. Speaking of not being ready, there's a number of players who are not only not ready to be captain, but not ready for this season. We've mentioned Frankie, Gavi, Pedri, Araujo. I got to get my words together, folks. You can tell we've been taking the summer off. Ansu Fati, also injured going into the season. Who'd have thunk it? We'll see if he'll actually be around. But with that injury list, who for you is going to have the biggest impact from not being available? Who will Barcelona be missing the most at the start of this season? Pablo, let's start with you.
In the past, I maybe would have said Araujo, but I think his level's dropped. I hope it comes back this season. And I'm guessing it'll be Christensen and Cubarsí as the centre-back pairing until he returns. I don't know how good of a thing that is or not. But so for the current setup of our team, and I think the fact that we're lacking midfielders, I probably wouldn't have said this name, but I am going to say this name. I'm going to say Frankie de Jong. Because whilst I believe Gavi is a better player and has more impact for Barca, potentially same as Pedri, I think de Jong, if we're playing a double pivot, is huge, becomes huge for this season for Barca, when in previous seasons he maybe hasn't had a role. He definitely has a role now. I'm already thinking about lineups for Valencia, for the Gamper, for Athletic Club. The two I sort of only feel work are Casado and Bernal. That's not going to happen. I wouldn't play Gundogan in a double pivot, I don't think, actually. I also probably wouldn't play in number 10, so watch out for Gundogan this season. Even though we've got a German coach, by the way, watch out, because I don't know where he'll fit. If he lacks that run off the mark a little bit and just lacks a bit of sharpness in his movement, watch out. But for that reason, I'm going to say De Jong, because I think we're lacking that profile big time at the moment. So I'm going to say Frankie de Jong.
Okay. Hugo, what about you?
I'm also going to go with Frankie de Jong. I think it makes the most sense having him next to someone like Casado would be for these first initial games. I think it make the more sense. But I think he's going to be a player that initially you would like him to start with someone like Flick. I think Frankie de Jong is someone who needs a little bit of time and rhythm to get back into the rhythm of things. And yeah, I just think that right now we don't have a player that fits into that mold precisely. You know, I don't think Gavi convinces me there. I don't think Gundogan convinces me there. I think Frankie is the one that makes sense at how he played his best football at Ajax. Like, that's literally it. That's Frankie in a nutshell. And yeah, I think that every time since Flick arrived, for instance, we've seen those pictures of Flick with Frankie talking over in the medical rooms and stuff like that. So I think he's going to be an important player regardless. We haven't been hearing a lot of rumors for Frankie de Jong because I think that maybe Flick is the one who's pushing for him to stay because he's just going to be an instrumental player for whatever Barcelona wants to achieve this season.
Yeah. Good arguments. And I'd probably agree with both of you. For the sake of throwing in a curveball there, I'm going to say Gavi, and I'm going to say because of his versatility. I do agree with you. The double pivot there, it's going to be Frankie and somebody else. Will it be Casado? Will it be Gundogan? I have the same kind of hesitations. I'm optimistic that that's going to end up being Gavi. It's going to be a Frankie Gavi in the double pivot because that gives a lot of flexibility if we do want to change up the tactics, change up the formation mid-match. Gavi can play really anywhere in that midfield. He can play out on the left wing if he needs to. So I'm going to say because of his versatility, because of his spirit that he brings to the club as well, I'm going to put a vote in the young Gavi there as most missed.
I hear it. Do hear it.
Yeah. Where in your list is sort of, can we discuss that first lineup maybe for the Valencia game?
You want to jump to that real quick? Well, let's put a pin in that because I want to keep talking about some of our young midfielders here that I think will influence maybe where we go with the lineup. So particularly Castello and Bernal. I know Pablo Torre is still floating around, right? We haven't heard any news of his future, whether it's at Barcelona or elsewhere. I'll say Castello and Bernal are particularly interesting because they have a great chemistry. They can share that double pivot role. For me, even though they lack experience, it is an upgrade from Roberto and Romeu. If you just went apples to apples there, 2 midfielders in, 2 midfielders out, Castello and Bernal are an upgrade for me. But do you think they're ready for the big time? I guess is my question. What do you think, Buka?
First of all, I really like them as a pair. I think as a pair, they work very, very nicely. I think that's precisely sort of what we need. I think mainly one of them is gonna be pushing for this move to the first team, because we've seen that Flick sort of already introduces Casado as a first team player. Marc Bernal was still called up as one of those affiliates of Barça Athletic. But actually, I would be pushing for them to start for the next few games. I think it makes the most sense. You know, the duo, the sort of simply how they play together. They feed basically what one doesn't have, the other one does. And I think that's particularly what you want in sort of a partnership like this in a double pivot. The question is there room? I do not think with the many midfielders that we have, I do not know how they fit in. In terms of position and skill set, they would do. But the problem is that right now we have so many players that can fit into that player behind the striker. Literally, you have Dani Olmo, Pedri, even a Gavi, Gundogan, Fermin, even a Ferran Torres can play there. So there are so many players that can fit into that position that I do not know exactly how Flick is going to fit them all in. How is he going to give him playing time? What is going to be the sort of game plan that he has for those players? And that's why I think some of them are going to be pushed back to the double pivot positions. And that's where Casado and Bernal are not going to have space.
Yeah. Pablo, what are you thinking? What are your expectations for Casado and Bernal?
I completely agree with Borgard that I think if you look at the Barca lineup and you're putting in positions, you look at the 2 DMs and the number 10. And for number 10, we've got a list of players. And for the 2 DMs, we've got about 3. 2 of them are from La Masia and one of them's injured. And that's the problem. And you've got Gundogan, Pedri, Gavi, Fermin. Look, great. You can trial those in a double pivot if you want. Maybe some will work, some won't, but I think that's a worry. And that's why these 2 have got prominence, obviously. I think probably for a game away at Mestalla, at home to Athletic Club, that is a big stretch. That's a massive ask. I don't think Flick will do that. I think it's going to be Casado +1. We can't forget Bernal is still 17 as well. I know obviously Lamine has been 16 scoring goals against France, but, age is sort of forgotten now in football. But a pairing of Casado and Bernal who've just sort of come out of nowhere. They haven't played a competitive game for Barca together. Castado's barely played for Barca. Bernal hasn't at all. I just think that's far-fetched, and I don't think we'll see that. Like I said, I imagine it'll be a Casado and Gundogan. Probably will work worse than what Casado and Bernal will, hey? So maybe Flick does that for Valencia and then goes, crap, I need to, readjust this. What I don't want is Christensen in midfield. I don't know about you guys. That's a no for me again, especially with Araujo injured. I think Christensen has to be like, with Koundé at right back, he has to be the guy at centre-back this season. And I think even in the game against AC Milan, we put Christensen into midfield for the first half, and we were worse than we were against City and Real Madrid. So, look, I think they've got a really golden chance now. For me, we should still be in the market for a DM. We just heard all the Nico Williams stuff, but for me, we should still be in the market for a DM because there is a gaping hole there. I mean, clearly, look at us now, and this was one of the main things I wanted to talk about in this podcast is anyone going to mention this sort of problem we've got now, and we've got a lot of midfielders but no DMs. So I think it's a golden chance for them, and I think we'll see both of them. Definitely Casado will start, I think, the first 2 league games, and let's see where he goes from there.
Yeah, and there's 2 more players I want to get to before we talk lineups. But on that point, Pablo, I was really surprised that we signed Dani Olmo and didn't go for someone like a Zubamendi. To me, that's a player that would have balanced out our midfield significantly more than Dani Olmo, and that's not. I am happy to have Danny at the club. I think he's going to do great things. At the same time, I think it's adding more to positions where we already have a lot of strength.
Yes.
Hugo, you got thoughts on that?
I think that maybe the thing is that we're looking at this from a very sort of pragmatic sort of way of Barcelona of old. Because when you actually do look at what Flick plays and what he has done before in Germany and what he has done let's remember he put is it him that he put Kai Havertz as a left wing back? I think it was
maybe.
Flick. Or it was Nagelsmann. But either way, you look at Bayern Munich, for instance, the way that they play, and I think that it's not precisely, the double pivot was Thiago Alcántara and it was Goretzka. Like, it's a box-to-box and a deep line playmaker. It's not a proper CDM and somebody else, So when you actually do look at this, I think it makes more sense to know, like, maybe at Thiago, I could see someone like a Pedri, and Frank de Jong, you could say was the box-to-box, maybe a Gundogan sort of player. Or no, they're less physical. But I think that maybe Flick will surprise us in the way that he's not going to play someone that defensively in that position. I think he's going to go, more guns blazing, more gun-ho. He's going to be looking for systematically sort of defend that way, pressure, get the ball back as soon as you can further up the pitch, rather than having, that sort of, what you call it, like, different lines of defense. You have the first CDM, then the next one, then the center back. I think that maybe when you look back at Bayern Munich, they were very open. Like, that team, like, even in the A2, let's remember that game for a second. The A2, Barcelona scored 2 goals on a counterattack because they were very open. And I think that's sort of the way that Hansi Flick is going to be looking to play, maybe with the squad that he has at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do not go for a DM. I think actually Barcelona won't go for a DM, because that's sort of the approach that Hansi Flick has convinced the board to go for. So I don't think we're going to be seeing anybody coming in. And I think that Casado, the arrival of him mainly, I just really like him as a player. I think he's going to be that sort of player that Flick will want to mold. That Xavi had his Lamine, he had his Cubarsí, he had his Fermín López. I think Casado is going to be the guy that he's going to be bringing through. And I think he's going to be the mold for Flick. So I think that actually we're not going to go for CDM. I think we're going to be maybe winning games 4-2. So get accustomed to conceding quite a lot.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. I like that. It's good arguments there. One other, well, still 2 others. So one more youngster I want to talk about here. Pau Victor kind of came out of nowhere for me. I don't know if he was on your guys' radar, but starting this season with the first team, he's official. He's on the website because he is now, if I'm understanding correctly, 20, I think it's 23, which means he can no longer stay on Barca B. Like, it's either he's got to move up, stay with the first team squad, or he's got to find a new home. I'm kind of for keeping him. I know that's going to bump out someone like a Ansu, like a Vitor Roque, but this guy for me seems to be legit. What is the hype real? Can we get on the Pau Victor train? What do you think, Pablo?
He's a very good player, Pau Victor. He's a very good player. I agree that it's come out of nowhere. He was at Barca Athletic last season, of course, on loan from Girona. He was the top scorer in the Spanish third division. Obviously, nearly got Barca Athletic promoted to the second division. Very good player, killer in the box. Like I said, great for Barca Athletic last season. Barca first team. It was a first team signing. He's with the photo with Hansi Flick and Dani Olmo ahead of the Gamper, so he's a first team signing, not for Athletic. And he's, I think, going to be in the first team this season. He's clearly produced again in pre-season. Was it 2 goals against Real Madrid, 1 against Man City, an assist against AC Milan again? He looks like a good player. I think he's going to be the second striker of the team behind Lewandowski. He can play across the front 3 really and behind a bit as well. And I think Vitor Roque is gone. And I think it will be Pau Victor who stays as well, very out of nowhere. But this guy looks like someone who clearly can produce at a good level in Spanish football, and I think he will this season. I think he'll stay. But I agree that it's maybe like a name that's sort of come out of nowhere for Barca fans, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's sort of, now that Marc Guy, was it? Guy. Okay, now that Marc Guy went to Chelsea, now that Vitor Roque is mainly going to be leaving the club, and I think the mold of Vitor Roque is just not a player that fits very nicely with Flick. I think Flick likes that complete forward, that guy who just can hold up a ball, who can drop a little bit further in, who's just can bully defenders. Victor Roque is not that. Victor Roque likes to play off the line. He likes to play maybe a little bit wider, drift in, drift out. He's not the sort of guy I think Flick will be looking as a number 9. Pau Victor is. I think he fits very nicely and is very similar to that sort of mold of number 9 that he will be looking for. So I think it makes way more sense for him to stay there. I think that Victor Roque, maybe loaning him out or a move away, who knows what's going to happen with him. I think it's still a player that we should be on the lookout for, because maybe in 1-2 seasons, Flick is not here. Who knows? Maybe somebody else can take advantage of him. Maybe he goes and, scores, 30 goals with Napoli or whatever, where he goes on loan, something like that. So I think it could work. The thing now is Pau Victor. Can we trust him to be that second guy for Lewandowski? Because in reality, there's not a single player that can fit that position outside him. So I think that, maybe yes, Pau Victor will be remaining as that sort of number 9. I do agree. I like him. I think it makes sense. I think he's of the right age profile as well. He's not that young where it's like, oh, maybe we need 1-2 more years. I think he needs to come in. He has delivered in preseason. Let's see how he can deliver in the proper, in the proper competitive games. Let's see how we go. I like him. He has my, how you call it? My badge of honor, my sort of approval.
Your approval, yeah. That's funny. It looks like we may have lost Pablo for a second. He may have had some internet connections there, so we'll get back to him in a minute. But I was going to jump back to you again with this next question anyway, Buga, because I know it's been on your mind. With Dani Olmo joining, he does have a very similar profile to some of our other players, like we've mentioned. In particular, a Fermin Lopez, who's on fire right now. What's in your mind when you compare those two players? Who's ahead in the depth chart when we look at Dani Olmo and Fermin?
Dude, we have to talk about Dani Olmo versus... Okay. He has, 15 goals in 2024? 15 goals, mind you. Bellingham has 6. I'm just saying. Who's better? I'm just saying, who's more on form? Who's more on form? Fermin Lopez over Bellingham. I'll take that. The thing is that Dani Olmo, he still hasn't proven to be sort of anything for Barcelona at the moment. He came from an incredible Euros, let's be honest. He was one of the players. Like, if Rodri didn't win MVP, if Limin didn't win MVP, for me, Dani Olmo is the guy to come in that list. I just do not know. I think based on merit, actually, Fermin Lopez should deserve to be starting over Dani Olmo. The thing is that you can only say that Hansi Flick still hasn't gotten to train with him. So I think that the time that he has gotten with Dani Olmo at the moment is probably going to push him further up on the pecking order. Not only that, but taking into account the sort of the money that was spent on him and all of that. And I would also say that Fermin Lopez off the bench, no matter where he plays, he's still an impact player. Like, he can be off the bench, he can start the game. I will vouch for him to have an impact no matter what. So I think that Fermin Lopez, either way, will be an important player. But I think that Dani Olmo right now is further on the pecking order. But what do you think then about, do you think we should have spent that money on him? Because there's so many people, already creating a campaign against Olmo just because of that. And I do not know. I don't know. I think Dani Olmo is still a little bit different of a player to Fermin Lopez, even though they're very similar. Dani Olmo can still play a little bit wider, perhaps. And I think he's just a player who's ready for that next jump. I was just looking at him at Leipzig. He's been there, 4 years already. He had an incredible Euros. I think Barcelona is sort of, once again, like it or not, I think in football sometimes things are way more simple. They're sort of written already. He was sort of ready for that next step. And I think that Barcelona and Manchester City were the only two clubs that could give him that sort of platform. So, I don't know. I'm not angry for Dani Olmo coming in. I think that maybe he's a player that in 1-2 years we would see as a sort of good impact player. And I like that. I think that hopefully it's going to be a good,
Yeah. I am admittedly not super familiar with Dani Olmo. I don't watch a lot of Bundesliga, so I've really only seen him in the Champions League, in those performances, and the Euros this past summer. So exciting player. attacking midfielder, can play a little bit from the left there, but he's not a winger by any means, right? So I think Hansi Flick is looking at his midfield lineup and saying there's a lot of players that are injury prone. I don't want to have to rely on bringing up Barca athletic players mid-season. Let me make sure that if a Pedri, if a Gavi goes down, I've got somebody of equal playing level, of equal impact that can come in. So I think it's more of an insurance policy than anything else. I'm very, very interested and curious to see what the go-to starting 11 becomes by the time we get to mid-season, because form is going to matter, fixture list is going to matter, but there could be heavy rotation, particularly in that attacking midfield row of our lineup there. So
yeah, no,
we got Pablo back, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, Pablo.
It's a hot summer, and my phone has decided that it was too hot and turned off. So let's hope we make it to the end. Yeah, it's good that we spoke a little bit about Dani Olmo, obviously, because he could end up being the big signing of the summer for Barca. It's a lot of money. I think all the question marks are looking at that Barca team. We've just said it. That's not the position that needs improving. I think he instantly becomes Barca's starter at the number 10 position, though. I think he does, and I think he will be under Hansi Flick. I want to say that straight up, and I think that's the intention with the signing. I think it's a Hansi Flick signing written all over it. I'm a big fan of Olmo. I hear that there's other priorities. CDM, I believe, is a priority. Left wing, I believe, is more of a priority than number 10, maybe even goalkeeper, right? But is he a great player? For me, yeah. I'm a big fan of Dani Olmo. I think he's ready for the next jump. I think he can actually become a really impactful player for Barcelona. I think he's got a lot of goals in him. We just need to get them out of him. He's a great striker from the edge of the box. Brilliant in between the lines. Him at the Euros for Spain was a really good example of what a good player he is in that sort of system. So am I excited? Yeah, I really like Dani Olmo individually as a player. Do I absolutely hear concerns of was it a priority? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. With those talking points out of the way, let's give our predictions for starting 11 for Valencia. This is coming up on Saturday. This is the first La Liga fixture to start us off. Buga, you want to go first?
Should we just go like position by position, and let's
go line by line, right? So everybody has Ter Stegen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Buga, give me your back four.
My back four for the first game is, I'm going to go from left to right, Alejandro Valde, Andreas Christensen, Pau Cubarsí, and Jules Koundé.
Okay. Pablo, I saw that reaction.
Wow.
What do you got there for your back four?
Balde, Inigo Martinez, Christensen, and Koundé.
That's what I got. That's what I got. I think it's just because Cubarsí has not had time to work with Hansi Flick, and he's coming off of the Olympics.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like it. I would rather see Koundé, Cubarsí, Christensen, Balde. That's what I'd like to see. But I'm gonna put
a little bit of a asterisk next to Cubarsí, because if it's not him, I think maybe Eddie Garcia slots in. Why do I say that? Did you hear that Gerard Romero had a talk with Eric Garcia on his live stream, and Eric Garcia said right away from the Olympics, one day and I'm back on Monday. I'm going to be playing there. I like him. I already had talks with him. My feeling is good. I think that maybe he can stay, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. I like Eric Garcia.
Eric Garcia, Langley as well.
No, I think Lenglet's gone. I think he's gone.
I think he may end up sticking around, you dudes. I think he's going to happen.
No,
I don't. I think he's gone.
I don't think. Let's right now. Let's bet something.
Mark it down.
Let's bet something. Let's bet something if Lenglet stays. I think he doesn't stay. I think he goes to Villarreal, or he goes to Atleti. He goes on a free. He does something.
Who's our center backs right now? We got Araujo, we got Cubarsí, we got Christensen, we got Inigo, we got Eric Garcia,
and Lenglet, and Mika Faye.
Mikael Faye.
He's not staying, mate.
He's not staying, dude. The thing is that
I don't think he's staying.
the thing is that Mika Faye can play as a left back. The thing is that Eddie Garcia, I think, one thing that we underestimate with Eddie Garcia is that everyone says he's like like an IQ genius. He's like low key the next manager of the generation. That's what Pep Guardiola has talked about him. Everybody loves Eddie Garcia, so I think that is difficult to sort of get rid of. And after a good season with Girona, I think that I would like him to vouch him to stay over Íñigo Martínez. That's my center backs would be Christensen, Araujo, Koundé, Eddie Garcia, and Cubarsí. If Koundé plays as a right back.
Okay. All right. Jump into midfield then. Pablo, you want to go first for this? Who's your double pivot? Assuming we all in agreement we're going 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's your double pivots, Pablo?
I'm going to stick with the theme of saying what I think the lineup will be. So I'm going to say Casado and Gundogan.
I'm in the same boat as Pablo again. Mm-hmm. Booga, you got anything crazy?
No, I think the next double pivot line is going to be Gundogan and Casado as well.
Okay. Now that 3 across the midfield, kind of that attacking line, this is where it gets interesting. Lamine did not play against Milan, right? He was just taking a break. He's not injured, right? No. Okay. Making sure I didn't miss anything. I'm going Lamine. I'm going Dani Olmo and Rafinha across that 3 there. And then I'll pause. What do you guys got?
I have the same thing.
Me too. I'm going to go with the same 3.
Okay. Yeah, I have Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, and Rafinha. I wouldn't be surprised if Fermin Lopez starts. I wouldn't be surprised. Why do I say that? Because I think it's easy. If I'm a manager and I take a look at Fermin Lopez, I just take a look at a guy who has been MVP in the Olympics. And he's not gonna take a rest that much. He said he's gonna be coming back for the Valencia game. I think it's easy to just slot somebody who's in that dynamic, But once again, we have to see if Dani Olmo is the time that Hansi Flick has with him. We have to see how much of an impact in his priority list is he gonna make, because training with someone already for some few days, I don't know, it makes you a bit more. It puts you higher up on the list.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay. I'm assuming we all got Lewandowski starting at the number 9 position. I don't think anybody's going to risk their reputation on putting anybody else there for the first match of the season. But let me hit you with this. Lewandowski, over or under 20 goals this season?
Over.
Over.
Wow.
All competition.
I was thinking just La Liga.
Ooh.
Yep. I was wondering, you guys answered that really fast. I was like, okay, that's clarify.
Just La Liga.
Just La Liga.
I'm going over. I don't care.
I'm going under.
Who do we think is going to be finishing top goal scorer?
I think it's going to be Lewandowski this year.
No. Of every club.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Lewandowski this year.
More than Mbappe.
Yeah, because if you think about Real Madrid, they're going to be in the Messi, Neymar, Suarez boat, where somebody's going to have to concede some goals there.
Dude, but that Messi Suarez boat didn't even care, bro, because it was everybody ended with 20 goals.
Yeah,
I don't think it's the same. I think it's more like BBC.
Maybe we'll see. I don't know. I think that's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be Lewandowski simply because of the Hansi Flick setup and the fact that Lewandowski gets to just be a poacher in the box now.
Yeah,
he's not going to be as involved as
relied
on. If we get
Nico Williams, it's going to be so simple. Imagine, just imagine all the chances that Morata missed in the Euros. Dude, he's just going to be falling back to Lewandowski. He just has to put it in.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. I'm pumped for it. I'm excited for this season. Like I mentioned, I think the Euros, Copa America was a good palate cleanser and a good advertisement for some of these Barcelona players that we saw really doing big things on the pitch there. So lots more to come. We are back with weekly episodes. We'll be releasing another episode. Predictions? You want to do predictions?
Yeah, I want to do predictions.
For what?
We already started with predictions.
3-1 Barcelona.
No, I'm talking about season predictions.
Oh my gosh. Why don't geez, the whole thing. No, let's save that for next episode. We're already at an hour here. Baby Booga with this sad face. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Always leave him wanting more. We'll do predictions in terms of we'll get a good list going. We'll do like top goal scorer from forwards and midfield. We can do most assists. We can do what we think Barcelona will do trophy wise. We'll do all that good stuff. We'll get into that. Okay. Let's wrap this up then. Any final thoughts?
Visca Barça and Visca Catalunya.
Yes, indeed. Love it. Okay. Like I was saying, we are back with weekly episodes now. Summer break is over. So make sure you're tuned in every Monday for new episodes of Más que un Podcast. Subscribe. Get your comments in down below. We want to get your reaction to what we're saying. We want to hear your thoughts, your opinions, ask your questions. Keep that conversation going. With that out of the way, like Buga said, Visca Barça. We'll see y'all next week. Thanks for listening, folks.
Ciao.